As someone who's worked in the heating and air for years, I've been in countless older homes across the Twin Cities, and I can tell you there's one thing that keeps me up at night: asbestos. This stuff was everywhere in older buildings. Insulation, ductwork, pipe wrapping, and disturbing it can release dangerous fibers into the air. That's why I want to tell you about Solutions for Asbestos Free Environments. Acronym: SAFE, S-A-F-E. And trust me, that acronym says it all, because safety is exactly what they deliver. They're certified by Minnesota Department of Health and fully compliant with EPA and OSHA standards. We at Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric use SAFE for abating asbestos during older boiler and gravity furnace replacements. Our electrical team relies on them when drilling through asbestos sidings and floors. I trust them with my customers' safety, and that says everything. Whether you're replacing that old furnace, renovating, or buying property, SAFE provides professional inspections and certified removal services. I've seen what happens when people skip the inspection and just start tearing into walls. Don't take chances. Visit Asbestos.Services to learn more and schedule your inspection today. That's Asbestos.Services, ASBESTOS.Services, because your safety matters.
From working in his family's Chinese restaurant, to bartending, to becoming present-day owner of Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric, my father's true superpower is human connection. Now, he's on a mission to capture the most fascinating stories that make up the Minnesota community. You're listening to the Twin City Tales podcast.
Today's guest is Lee Ramsay, owner of SAFE, S-A-F-E, Solutions for Asbestos Free Environment, specializing in asbestos and lead testing and removal. But Lee's entrepreneurial journey goes way beyond that. He's a licensed general contractor who's built multiple businesses, from garage door services to franchising operations. What makes Lee's story compelling is how his diverse background, growing up in Minnesota with an African-American father and a South Korean mother, shaped his business philosophy of building authentic relationships and delivering exceptional value. Today, we're diving into his journey from Richfield to building a business empire, what it takes to scale a service business, and why being radically responsive has become his secret weapon. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Surely.
You know, when I first met you, you are like an amazing man, a young man. I feel like you have that spirit in you. And you were born in Stillwater, and you end up in Richfield?
Yeah, born in Stillwater, raised till about like 3, 4 there. So my family was from there. And then we ended up migrating over to Richfield.
Okay.
Yes.
And you grew up in Richfield the whole time?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I graduated from Richfield, so I was a Spartan.
Okay.
Played a little bit of football, a little baseball, track, tried to dabble in a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And Richfield is such a cool community because it has so much history in there that people don't, and it's just kind of tucked away in that South Minneapolis between Bloomington, kind of that forgotten little area. And what was it like growing up in that Richfield area?
Good. I mean, I guess it's really a diverse school. I mean, for me, I kind of grew up in that age where biking still was very normal, right? Being able to go off the block, bike all the way to school. Everybody was basically friends with everybody. Very different times, I feel like, compared to maybe now. But it was good. It was great. I enjoyed my time, and I wouldn't change a thing about it.
When I think about Richfield, I think like Bloomington, like Jefferson, and those other high schools kind of overshadow it a little bit.
Yes, our competitors.
Yes,
that's very much so. Everybody thinks about that. I mean, to me, Richfield is so small, right? It's typically overlooked, and it's just considered Minneapolis, or then you go to Bloomington or you go to Edina. You know, that ends up being it.
Yeah, and it's in that little corner pocket right by that airport. So
Yes, it is.
it's just an interesting place to live, and the diversity there is pretty cool.
Yes.
And speaking of diversity, your dad is African American and
Yes.
your mom is South Korean. How did they meet here, or were they?
They did. They met, I believe, at a nightclub that may be closed in St. Paul.
Okay.
So, and then they met. They're with each other for a few years, and then they weren't. Single mom.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And being raised by a single mom, early separation from your biological father, kind of complicated sometimes.
Oh, I mean, it was, but being at that age that it all happened, I didn't know any different, right? Mom was the strong parent, right? And she was independent. I had my grandparents there to support her, had a ton of cousins. So it really was just awesome mom doing her thing, so no complaints.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And, for me growing up in Minnesota in the 60s and 70s, there, I hate saying it, there isn't racism, but there is. You can still get judged by the cover. And
Yep.
for me, being Asian and very predominantly looking Asian, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get sometimes the sense of, okay, they judge you.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of that, especially like I get the feeling like sometimes it's hard to fit in when you're kind of half Asian, half black, and then yeah.
I would say for me personally, I got it from every angle. Being half Asian and half African American, I never really fit into any group per se. So I kind of had to recreate myself. But as a kid, you don't really think about these things. You just keep being yourself. And at that time, you don't really understand or can comprehend why people act a certain way towards you. And then you grow up to later figure out, oh, maybe these are the reasons why. Oh, and then it just keeps happening. But for me, I tried to overcome it by just being a good person. Try to be better, just treat everybody nice, and hopefully they'll overlook all those things.
Yeah, and I think we all have our own ways of like diffusing some of that, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
like I don't want to turn it into like some cultural thing, but even on our perspective, right? Like we know we're different looking.
Yes.
So how do you overcome that? Part of it is assimilating. And I feel like
Yes.
I did that a lot, right? When I was younger, like, oh no, I'm not one of them. I'm not fresh off the boat, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you use self-deprecating humor to
Yes.
create that. But was it always right? Like I felt like when I was younger and I used that, it was like I didn't embrace it. But now that I've gotten older, I've realized like I need to embrace my old heritage, but like
Yes.
my Asian heritage again.
Mhm.
I mean, I go to a lot of I'm a big supporter of Mu Theater, which is an Asian
Yep.
arts
Mhm.
theater in town that does live performances, and it tells the Asian American story. But I think we get that sometimes when we're out and about. Like,
We do.
are you sure you're one of us? And
Yeah.
then you have to create that to make the connection, right? Because
You
you
do.
want to be one of them.
You really do.
Have you ran into some situations like that in the past, or do you feel like
I would say every day.
Every day?
Truly. I'm in a lot of sales roles. So for me, having to be part of somebody creating that connection, I have to adapt and do that. So I always did try to fit in or separate myself away from what people did not like. Like, oh, I'm not that way. Oh, I'm this way. I had to do that all the time. Still to this day. Very much so.
It's funny because you like do it as
Yes.
being different, and that sets you apart. When I was growing up, my dad owned a restaurant,
Mhm.
and he more kind of the opposite way. Like he created the connection by giving the customer that expectation. Because I knew there was times that he would kind of speak with that little broken English sometimes,
Yes.
just to make it sound like, yeah, I own a Chinese restaurant. And he really did. Like the Chinese food wasn't like Chinese. It was
Yes,
like
yep.
chow mein, like schoolhouse chow mein.
Yep.
But it's interesting how we all kind of try and figure out how to make connections.
Yes.
What is your go-to connection that you try and use?
Well, it depends on what circumstance, right? My go-to connection with, say, clients or people. I do a lot of over-analyzation of people, and I do it in a very short period of time. So I really try to figure out what their likes are, and most likely, I do have something in common with them. So I try to figure out what we have on the same common grounds. And then that's what I just more talk about. Because if I lead in saying, oh, I'm a anime guy, someone be like, look at this nerd, you know what I mean? Like, right. Can't lead with that. And if I'm just like, oh, all I do is go to the gym and pump iron, people are like, that's all you do, man? Like, what, do you have a life? And I can't really portray myself in my real form until I get a sense of who people are in their real form. And then I can kind of go about how I want to handle it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because being in business, as you start out, you are starting to learn how to do sales. And sales, it's an art form. Like you really have to really go where the customer is, right?
Yes.
So did you take any classes in sales or
any classes in sales?
Did you do they're out there.
I went to school for digital graphicing and animation. Business management was like a part of it, but it was to make video games. Everything that I got in sales was for me actually being in the industry in sales. From when I was 15, working for a Ben & Jerry's, selling ice cream, trying to convince people to come over. Ooh, sample, try it. It's so good. Into Zoomies, sell people into what skateboards, what clothes do you want? And it's always been a sales job. So I would say if I did do any sort of courses, it was the road, the actual experience course, of living life. And that's how I got my sales.
School of Hard Knocks.
The School of Hard Knocks.
And you know what the tuition is for School of Hard Knocks is, don't you?
What is it?
A pint of blood and a pound of flesh.
Oh, so much. Man, you need to add a little bit of tears, in there.
Hey, you don't have to pay back a loan, that's for sure. But man, you pay for it with a lot of pain emotionally and physically at times.
Yup, very much.
No, so yeah, because it's so funny because sales, and we just had Stephanie Havel on, and she talks about sales strategies, and one of the biggest things she uses is what they call DISC. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No, I have not.
It's like a 4-quadrant of people's personality. You're like you can be like a driver or an influencer or conscientious or a what's the last one? Is an S is just very satisfier, a person that people that are high C's that like very conscientious, they are very analytical, like they want details. And I'm sure you ran into that, like they really don't care to be like buddy with you, but they want to know how much asbestos is in there that's very bad for my health. 38.2%, right? They want it down to the detail. But there's people out there that are probably more like me. I'm more of a high, what they call influencer or influence person. Like, I want to hear stories. Like, you start telling me like all those details and my eyes start glazing over and I'm gone, right? And I think people that are really good at, there's people that think sales is like just being a good schmoozer. But part of that is going, hey, where is this person really coming from? What is it that they really want to know, and then educating them in that area. Is that how you tend to?
Yeah, I mean, try to find that need. Those 4 different aspects, right? To me, all of them make sense, and I can relate to every single one depending on the situation. There are people who are analytical. They just need to know the number. They don't care who I am, what I'm about. They just need to know the numbers, the figures, how I'm going to go about getting this project and this situation solved for them. There's other people who want to hear the story. They want to get my background. They want to know how I got into the business. And I will indulge, very much so. And I would imagine when it comes to the 2 other forms, I would figure out a way to satisfy, because it doesn't bother me if someone wants to keep a conversation short. More time for me. But if they want it to run long, that's where I feel like I get to cultivate that relationship and build some true rapport with them. And I don't mind that as well.
I find that that's the fun part, and the fun part of the sales portion is really getting to know the customer, because I love stories.
Yeah.
And get to know the customer is what I feel, and that's probably why I do a podcast too.
Yes.
I love the stories. And going back to what you just said, how you got into them, how did you get into from anime to actually hazardous asbestos and lead abatement, right?
I mean, it's a journey. I mean, to kind of sum it up, it was sales for like clothing of multiple different companies, to car sales, from car sales into my first business, which was garage door installations and repairs, from garage doors installation and repairs to general construction. So the general construction is what led me in to the asbestos and lead testing and abatement. Truly. It was something where I had an instance where, as a GC, I had to hire on a licensed asbestos contractor through the state. I ended up not being able to find one. An insurance company recommended one to me that was in their portfolio, used that contractor, and they botched the job. No permits pulled, no proof of waste manifests, all this stuff that as a general contractor was just like, woo, over my head. No clue that stuff existed. But as the Minnesota Department of Health was informing me about the actual the circumstance that we were in, I was starting to think liabilities, getting really worried about me getting sued for the fact that I had to hire this contractor, right? It wasn't my choice. The insurance company provided me them with an estimate right away. So when that job went bad, they, of course, tried to backpedal, not their fault. Over time, I kind of spoke to them about the situation. Then they're willing to cover the work. When they decided to cover the work, it was significantly higher than what the original estimate was for the work. So after I saw that number, I was like, why can't I do this? I've done demo work before. I already work construction. So you're saying you just have more PPE, protective, clothing that you need to wear, more protocols. Perfect. Construction that takes longer doesn't bother me one bit. So got my license, got my certifications, and just ran with it ever since.
It's kind of funny you say that, because I believe in the asbestos abatement. You do need somebody that's professional, that's taken out. And, you don't know like how many people have been affected by asbestos, but there are lawsuits out there, and it was big in the 70s and 80s, and a lot of people were getting sued. And you see it in the heating and air field, where they're in basements with duct wrapped asbestos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How hard was it to get your certification? Do you think that they should be a little more stringent?
That's tough. So it's just a course. You pass a test. It's no different than being a general contractor. You have an option to take a course, which is a little different, and then you can take your test. But in the abatement for asbestos and lead, it's just you take courses, 5 days long. You invest a little bit of time. You pass a test. That's actually not the hard part about it. The hard part is getting insurance to cover for you, because you are a brand new company. And if you are registering your company correctly through the Minnesota Secretary of State, right, you have to be a hazardous remediations company. No insurance company wants to insure that. They just see that as a risk, right?
Yeah.
Very, very risky. So that was the toughest part, other than coming up with my numbers. The numbers to me are very, very important, especially when I'm doing work with insurance carriers. Need to be able to be transparent. Need to also make sure it's reasonable. But that's really the tough issue, is coming up with all those different facets. Equipment, yeah, that's expensive. All that stuff, any sort of mitigation, it is expensive and costly for the startup. But luckily, I did have general construction to kind of lean on, to help me work my way into the abatement.
And understanding the abatement, the asbestos. And I just remember this was about 20, 30 years ago. I have a great story about that. I was working on furnaces, and we ended up selling them a new furnace, but he didn't want to pay for the asbestos abatement. And I said, that's fine. And I had to come back to pick up a tool. I left a tool there. And the next day, it's a 70-year-old man anyways, and he's buying this furnace. And he said, you have to get the asbestos abated. He's down there in the basement, pulling it up and stuffing it in a garbage bag. And I said to him, I don't know if you want to be doing that. At least wear a mask. He's like, oh, hell, I'm 80 years old. I'm not going to be worried about that. I'm thinking to myself, well, are you going to take it with you then, that money? I mean, I would just pay somebody to do it.
Very much.
Rather than have it fly all over the place and huffing all that in.
But some people aren't worried, right? Like if you are at that age, I've run into a bunch with clients. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And it depends on also, I think, the background. Some people take it extremely seriously. You would never catch a person, as soon as they believe it's a suspect material, they want to be out of their house, like in a hotel, calling us up frantically, crying, I want to be out of this situation. It's going to kill us. And then other people are just like, I've already been living in it. What's it going to do to me?
It's all perception, isn't it?
Yes, very much.
What their experience is like if their parents, one of their parents die.
Yes.
Is it
mesothelioma?
And that's part of that asbestos.
And asbestosis.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they had somebody, they're just like, oh, I don't want that. But then they're like, I had, like, if you know some old time Minigasco guys that used to mix that stuff in and slather it up on the furnace. And it's like they're huffing in that and they're living till they're 80, 90 years old. And you're like, and I think it's just different people reacting, getting different reactions to it or end up with a cancer. But I think it's a thing.
It is a thing, but what you just said is the science, right? Behind it all, everybody's body is different. So it's going to affect you different than it does me. I mean, I could work with it for the next 80 years and be completely fine. You could just have a little bit of sprinkled around you and hey, bam, 30 years later, you got it.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it very difficult. Because how do you determine when the latency period is so dramatic and it's just vast in time? It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be 30, 40, 50 years from now. How serious, how dangerous is it really? And that's where the perspective, your own feeling of your own health, typically will determine how people are going to react.
And I think there's a lot of our listeners out there that probably don't really, they just hear like, oh, I think I have asbestos siding, or how can they tell if they have asbestos siding?
So asbestos siding, you would think of it as more like a James Hardy type. It's a concrete, fibrous cement material. So it's going to be hard, but it is brittle. With just for how long it's been already on the property to probably now, most of that stuff, you could knock on it, most likely gonna just break off. And that's just the exterior portion of stuff. You can have asbestos shingle tiles. You could have flooring tiles in your house, which most of that stuff, multicolored, all the ranges from the reds, the blues, the blacks and whites, all in schools still to this day. But a major one is what we call is friable material. So that means under pressure, it will release those fibers just from your hand strength. So that could be popcorn texture, acoustic sealing. That could be like drywall, mud and tape texture. Textures are what we consider a little more serious. The content of asbestos in it, though, is lower. But understand that FDA or the federal government, right, regulates it at anything above or greater than 1%. So if it happens to be 3%, that's 3 times higher than the lowest regulated amount already. But tile, that typically comes back about 30%.
Wow, so that is a pretty high content of tile. How
Yes.
can one tell besides, it comes in off different colors?
Yeah.
How can they tell if I have asbestos tile?
The thing is, you can't really tell. You would have to hire a professional like us to come out, and we, of course, can inspect. But what I tell a lot of people when we work with realtors, I'm not here to give you good news. I can tell you the good news right now and give everybody the secret. Wood, metal, and glass. Those don't contain.
Right.
But if I go inside your house and I find anything else legally as a licensed inspector for asbestos, I have to assume it contains. So if you have tile that in my right mind, I know it most likely does not contain asbestos, legally, I have to tell you I assume it does.
Interesting.
Yes.
Just for the liability reasons.
For the liability reasons, very much so.
And part of that is the insurance. And
Very much so.
And the insurance is not cheap, especially if
No.
you're doing asbestos abatement. So, yeah, I can imagine because there's a lot of lawsuits out there once the.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and they find a way to hang that onto, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. So how do you like when you go in and they ask you, can you tell if it's asbestos? What's your process of, do you pull it up and take a sample to test, or
So
how does that work?
the process would be, I first go in, inspect with the client, say, hey, I do assume this is. I go over our transparent pricing. Everything is the same. We have same day turnaround, which is like a 24-hour, be lenient on that idea, same day. And then we have a 5-day standard turnaround to be able to get you your results. State law says that if I'm going to take a sample, document the sample where I'm taking it from, measure the area that I'm taking it from, randomly select within this area where I have to harvest the actual sample, and you cannot be in the room or in a room adjacent to me while I'm taking the sample.
Why is that?
Just for the fact that understand that when we're grabbing these samples, slicing it, understand fibers are being released. When these fibers are being released, we're wearing masks, we're wearing suits, we have to have tape around our gloves, and we're also using wetting methods. We have to spray it with this amended water. So we add a chemical to some water. It allows the fibers to get trapped. So we're spraying while slicing, and then we harvest the sample in.
So you're not getting
No.
flying or particles that are particle dust.
I would hope not. That's my job, to be safe, is like to follow all the rules and regulations. And then after we harvest these samples, we have to encapsulate. Understand that is a little bit more lenient. Other companies just put electric tape, blue tape or whatever, like painter's tape over it. We actually use the chemical encapsulant, which is locked down, and we spray the area. Within 24 hours, it hardens. So you don't have to worry about any fibers. You can go about your day. Just don't go dancing on that area or pounding on it, But other than that, it's good to go. Picking at it, scraping a little bit.
I've seen it on those boiler piping where they've asbestos insulated it from 100 years ago, and you'll see when you guys come through, they kind of looks like a glue over it, like a white glue.
Very much.
And pretty much tells you just leave it alone.
Don't disturb. That is one thing that I do mention to people. I know a lot of people want to do projects. I mean, you want to do work for people too, but then I come in and I just say, you have a choice. You either get it abated, you can do it yourself, which you might do it incorrectly and then expose any future contractors in your home and your family, or you don't do the work at all. End the project. That idea that you love doing, this beautiful new space. Nope, that's gone. No beautiful space anymore.
And that process is a little bit more than people know. Like I've seen you guys do it because we've had furnaces or boilers that need to have the asbestos abated. And
Yep.
you guys really like seal off the whole room, tape it all down.
Yes.
And
So understand that if you are seeing this, you are breaking a rule and regulation, or actually I would be. You're not even allowed to be on site while I'm abating.
well,
No.
they weren't abating yet. They were prepping the
Oh, prep,
area.
yep,
Yeah.
doing the poly barrier.
Yeah.
Yes,
and he was
yes.
explaining it to me.
Yes.
How they do it. Yeah.
That is an interesting process. I do tell people when it comes to poly barrier, that's like 80% of the job.
Well,
Very much so. It's very time consuming.
it's a lot of work.
A lot of
Because
tape.
you have, and you have to do. If I understand you right, I'm just enough to be dangerous on knowing
Yep.
the asbestos. I just know it because of my industry, what
Mhm.
has to be done. You guys have to build like the containment for it. Then you have to do like 2 other rooms, like an area where you shower in,
Yes.
and then outside the shower where it's cleaned up.
Yes.
So,
That is also in rules and regulations, the decon system that we need to set up. Understand that if we are working with that friable material, right, we need to build a 5-stage. So that would be dirty room, which is closest to the area that we are abating, airlock area, so then no fibers can make it through. That shower, that mobile shower that has to have a hot and cold system implemented with soap, because everybody's got to be able to wash up. And then another airlock, and then we have our clean room.
but you don't
That's
get
going through.
completely naked shower. You just shower the hazmat.
No, you get completely naked.
Do they?
Yeah, you have to.
Oh.
You have to understand when you're working with everybody, we're all very comfortable with each other. But we have to let one person go through at a time, and you need to shower for 5 minutes. It's regulation. So if you're not showering for 5 minutes, you can most likely be bringing fibers into our clean room. We can't have that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's something where we got to the point where most of us will just wear our underwear. It's just easier that way. It's a lot of sweat too. When you're in those suits, you're wearing the masks, you're just sweating a bunch. You don't want the Tyvek suits are good and all, but you get wet and they can become they can kind of just start deteriorating a little bit because they start sticking to you, the surface. They get thinned out, and then now you could possibly getting fibers on your skin. So that's why you do have to wash and shower.
Interesting. I guess I've never seen what's that show called Dan Rowe on Dirty Jobs.
Yeah, really?
I don't think he's ever done maybe he has.
Maybe.
But it seems like that would be like right in that category
Mm-hmm.
with that. So yeah. So part of you is like more the business person.
Yes.
And I get into a little bit of that. And we talked about you're building that, or at least you did some with your garage door company. You kind of franchised it to your brother.
So the garage door business, I learned that technique, right? You kind of have to relinquish that control, that picking up the phone, always sealing the deal, being the one that shows up, does the work. You can't trust anybody else to be as good as you. That was the first business where I realized that that's not the truth. Of course, nobody's me, but they are them. So they have their own unique way of selling and doing the work, which is beautiful. And that's what I had to embrace. So when it comes to the franchising of it, other people own a part of our garage door company, right? Or they have their own LLCs, and we allow them to DBA it, a few different locations. But we're actually starting to implement that for all of our businesses. It's just an easy business model.
Interesting. And it's still local then. It's not like,
Yes.
We've had a few people on our show talk about private equity groups, which
Yes.
is, I'm not completely against it, but I'm also not completely for it because I believe in, that's probably why I'm doing the podcast.
Yes.
I believe strongly in small businesses. I believe that there's an entrepreneurial spirit that we have in this country. And I think private equity is taken away from that. But a lot of people will have that franchise feel to it, but they'll say that's private equity. They've gone into there too.
It's somewhat, right? depending on how you structure it, for me, private equity is killing the game in every field, especially in service industry, right? You see it in garage doors, you see it in storm restoration, roofing and siding, and it's eating the little guy. It's just beating them down because they just keep acquiring all these different companies. And when people call, they're just getting the one company, and what does that do for us? I mean, we have our pricing set, and now we have to compete with multiple companies that are actually one company, so they can lower that price, be more appealing, be more competitive. Where being a small business, where we have people think it's always about small business, low overhead. No, I mean, it all kind of scales up, right? But you still have that overhead. You still have the rents for brick and mortar. You still have insurances, tools, materials. And those are things that we can't escape in our businesses. But it is tough for us, I feel like, to battle against all these private equity companies that are coming from who knows where.
Yeah, and usually it's out of state.
Typically.
And
right.
it is usually they're going after multiple smaller businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is they still kind of claim they're a small business because they have the front man who was the old owner that owned 49, maybe 25% of the business. So they can still say it's all, but that if the front man or the owner is 25% owner, guess where that other 75% of the money that's going to? It's going out of state, right? It's ruining your hometown that you're in. It's creating that problem.
It is
with taking that money to a different area of the United States, which, I get it. There's big corporations, but there's also the guys that like us that run a smaller company that need that help, right? That need the backing of our community.
Very much so.
That's why we do a lot more for our little area of our community, as for our volunteer work and stuff like that. That's what I feel. And your business model is really interesting too. After we're talking about it, explain a little bit more about when you do insurance and your flexibility on pricing for insurance work.
So when it comes to insurance, the flexibility portion is more the fact that I'm willing to negotiate with them on what work needs to be performed. Of course, I don't want to negotiate myself down, but I do try my best to reason with them, provide them with rules and regulations on why these line items are necessary and most likely a law, and they're set in stone, so they need to be handled. And that, I think, it's kind of the secret to it all, but is understanding how to charge in a way that is appealing to insurance carriers, especially in a field like mine where they start seeing these numbers and it's all hazardous. And understand, in insurance, most insurance companies in their policy state contaminants, pathogens, any of that not covered by insurance in any way, shape, or form. You would typically have to come out of pocket to pay for a lead or asbestos abatement. It wouldn't be covered. So there is a unique way to navigate through it that I've been able to figure out, and that's really the big secret of the company and why it's doing so well.
That's awesome. And you always think of the insurance company really just, they're great when you don't have a claim, but when you do have a claim, it's hard to fight them. And I think your job as kind of the person that wants to protect the homeowner, your job is to pry the insurance company's wallet as wide as you can, and the insurance company's like just trying to keep it closed as much as they can, which doesn't help the homeowner at all because they're going to take shortcuts. And if you pick the wrong contractor, they're like, I'll take the money and run with it, and I'll cut corners, and I'll do what it takes to just satisfy the insurance company, because that's who I do most of my work with.
Yes.
and that's not always a good thing too for our community.
I mean, you pay premiums for a reason. You shouldn't be getting a service like that. But they are a business, and they are trying to capitalize on the situation. So I can't really blame them. But in our field, when it comes to people's health, it's very easy for me to advocate why it's necessary. And it's something where because I know insurance and I've been in this realm for so long, I always bring up, well, understand that we're doing this abatement. They need ALE. They need those additional living expenses. So understand, if when I'm doing this abatement, legally, they can't be here. So they need to go away, and you need to cover them to be away. And it's pretty straightforward. I try my best to educate not just the insured, the general contractors that I work for, but also the insurance company, to make sure that they are upholding being good the way they're supposed to be good, because that's what they're there for. They're there to help you. Otherwise, why would you be paying? I mean, imagine if insurance was you never pay, a claim happens, and then they just pay,
Yeah,
So
no, that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen.
That's fairyland right there. And I love the name of how you decided to come up with the name Safe, and it sounds like that was really important. And your main focus with coming up with that name, could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
So again, with the situation that came about with that bad contractor experience who was licensed, and how they weren't safe, they weren't encapsulating, they didn't show that they disposed of the materials legally, and that to me really resonated with me, that I want to do the opposite of what they did. So safe. Again, how do you make that idea of being safe really stand out in asbestos? So then solutions for asbestos free environments. The F, that whatever, wash that away. But but the rest of it is safe. So I wanted to really give people, because I can do a play on words. I always laugh with clients, about it. So you're going to be safe, and they're just like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's the idea.
And I think that's the important thing, because I there's goals to different business models, and I feel like what I really enjoy talking to you about is you truly want the customer to be safe, and asbestos and lead is not a safe product out there. I mean, there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing.
That is true. I mean, I joke around with clients too. My job is to be safe and keep them safe. But understand, with me even being safe, I'm going to die from this. Jokingly. It's just that idea that no matter what, we have these filters, right? We have 3 different stages. Half mask, that's the lowest quality. You'll see that on most painters. We have full face, so you get the whole shield over your face. You get better filters. And then we have a papper, which feeds and forces air through our system into there. So we're talking about the difference between it is, no mask, you're fully exposed. Half mask, you're at 20 times safer. And then full face is 50 times safer. And then the papper is 1,000 times safer than not having a mask. But understand that it only filters out so much. So we are breathing it in. We all joke about it. We kind of know, but again, we're all gambling on the idea that hopefully our bodies adapt to it and don't feel those, we end up getting mesothelioma. I would hope nobody on our team ever does. But we do have that idea of that you're safe. We're as safe as we can be when we follow protocols and procedures. But it is still a dangerous and hazardous material that we are trying to get out of your home.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I gotta admit, I don't think I'd ever want to be doing that for a living, because I've just seen it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I do know a couple that had, but later on in their life, mesothelioma. I can't even say the word,
it's
but
a tough one.
It is. And with that, I think we're going to go to a break. It's a
That
lot of
sounds good.
information, a lot of good asbestos information.
Sounds
And
good.
We'll be right back. Anoka Meals on Wheels, a nonprofit organization that I proudly support, delivers more than just nutritious meals to seniors in our community. They deliver connection, care, and peace of mind. Their volunteers don't just drop off food, they check in, share a smile, and ensure our neighbors know they're not forgotten. I know because I am one of those volunteer drivers. Help us keep serving those who need it most. Visit mowanoka.org to volunteer, donate, or learn more about Anoka Meals on Wheels, nourishing bodies and spirits one meal at a time. Tired of lugging heavy bags of water softener salt from the store? Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric now delivers premium water softener salt right to your home in returnable, reusable 20-pound containers to go green and light enough to save you from injury. Serving the north suburbs, we're your neighbors who know how hard our water is. No more running out of salt and dealing with spotty dishes and stiff laundry. Quality salt, reliable delivery, local service you can trust. Because at Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric, we don't just keep your home comfortable, we keep your water soft and your life easy. Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric, now with water softener salt delivery. Call today or visit us online. If you're enjoying this show, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a second and hit that subscribe button. It helps us reach more listeners, and if you're feeling extra generous, leaving us a rating would mean a lot to us in a review. It only takes a minute, but you're really making a huge difference in helping other people discover the show and other small businesses in this local area. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Twin City Tales for behind-the-scenes content and episode updates and more. We're back with Lee Ramsay of Safe Asbestos Abatement and Lead Removal and Testing. And this is the part where we bring in some photos that your mom sent us.
Fun.
So did she like you when she was sending it, or did she kind of go, I'm going to embarrass him?
I feel like she could swing either way.
Depends on her the mood.
Yeah, it depends on what time you caught her at. Very much so.
Well, she did send this really cute picture of you. This is for the audience listening out there. Here he is, just a cute toddler, probably not even a glimmer of what his future was going to be like.
I don't even know if I've seen that photo before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You were an awful cute baby, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Gosh darn it. And here's what maybe an 8-year-old Lee.
Yes.
In a Richfield baseball.
Yes, baseball there. 11, maybe 11.
Okay.
Maybe. I played baseball for a while.
So what do you remember most about playing baseball? How did it help you in business, do you suppose?
Swinging for the fences. Always hitting hard. I did that all the time. Everyone would always say, you're cutting too hard. You're not looking at the ball. You're just waiting to knock it out, home run every time. But that's kind of how I live my life, and definitely apply that to my business. I want to knock it out every time. I really want to try my best to provide as much value to my clients. And the only way you can do that is through knocking it out of the park. You have to, and that means being my own big critic. And I'll tell you, in baseball, I was my biggest critic. I felt like I was like the worst player. I stole the bases all the time. My coaches loved me. Honestly, I got a lot of attention from my coaches. But it was also a thing where my father did not give me. He always thought I could be better. You could always be better,
I think you push yourself to that, though. I mean, I think you know what your limits are, and if you don't aspirate for more, you do get in that rut. Like, okay, just good enough is not good enough. You want to be better. But you swing for the fences. I'm more of a ground ball with eyes, singles, maybe doubles, but I was never fast. So,
Yep.
So maybe I should have swatted out of the yard so I didn't really have to run the bases, right? Just trot them.
Yep. Hey, but just get on base. That's what's most important, right?
Yes,
Just get on base.
Exactly. No, just great. And this was looks like you were graduating there at the
yes.
You're in a graduating outfit. Richfield.
Is,
what year?
2011.
2011, man, you're young.
Yes, I am. I forget that sometimes, with the whole family, all the kids. I am young.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Somebody came up to my office today and says, this is going to make you feel really old. I guess it's the 37th anniversary of, you're never going to remember this, but Kirk Gibson hitting the home run in the World Series. And
no.
Yeah, so.
Would.
And I'm like, man, I am old. And I graduated in 83, so that's even crazier yet. Mm-hmm. Your mom seems like a lovely woman there.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And then, let's see. And then you and your family.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is most of the family, because we have a newborn. I mean, technically, she just turned 1, a little baby Navy. So I got 3 girls and a girl cat. So,
So a lot of estrogen in your
house.
Yes,
very much so. Very, very much.
But, every time I've talked to you, you are a great father. I mean, that's one thing that you do bring up is your daughters and your wife. And
I love them. I love them. I wouldn't have it any other way. Being raised by my mom, I think, has made it easier for me. Not easy, but easier, because I can kind of relate with them. I can, I don't have to be so much like serious. I get to kind of be a kid, live with them, be the one that admires them, the most. Oh, you're beautiful. Your hair's amazing. You look so good in that. I love, with my oldest daughter, I love going shopping with her. We try to go shopping with her mom. Does not work. She does not like shopping with mom, but she loves shopping with me because I love seeing her try on whatever she wants. Her mom will see me like, there's no way that's gonna work. What do you have to match that? I'm like, that's cool. I like that. You look good in that. Let's take that one home.
And I can tell you have an eye for good-looking things. Good things that look good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, with your daughters, though, do you have, I feel like with my kids, I have, and even, friends and stuff like that, I have that Midwestern, I can't say I love you, but I'll come over and help you clean your gutters. That's my show of love, or I'll feed you.
Yeah, I'll get food in your belly,
Exactly.
That's how I show love. I mean, it was a time where that's how I was raised. From my mom didn't raise me like that, but on my dad's side, very much so. No I love yous, no real hugs or anything like that. Right. But my mom was always spoiling me, I guess. So she always showed affection. I was her baby forever, her man, her first child. So that was a big thing. And so I really take what I learned from my mom and try to apply that to my daughters. I think they constantly, for better or for worse, they just need the words of affirmation, knowing that I love you so much. If I wasn't spending so much time investing into growing the business so that one day I can, step back a little bit, it really is for them. I don't get to spend as much time now, but I hope to be able to spend all the time later,
It's a hard dynamic. Just being a business owner and you're really making me think about this, because the one thing that I've been very blessed the last 5 to 10 years to grow something into something a little different where I can step away from it, right? Mm-hmm. But in all reality, I think owning a business and really swinging for the fences there's things in your life that have to give for that, right? And Dan, who is my son from my ex-wife, lovely woman. I mean, I just think that part of it wasn't 100% her fault, and it's not 100% mine, but I do know that part of that, the sacrifice that I made to create a business, costed me one marriage,
Yes.
and was it the right thing? I can sit there and debate that. Was it the wrong thing? I can sit there and debate that too. I think it just is. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
When things like that happen, it just is what's supposed to be. I wouldn't trade my current wife in for a different life, and I certainly wouldn't trade my ex-wife and what I've had, and having 3 sons and a daughter now, they're all around the same age, from 26 to 31. I wouldn't trade that for a better business either, and it's where we're supposed to be in life. So thank you for reminding me of that perspective.
Hey,
and
that's what I'm
really,
here for.
really putting that back in to perspective, right? Because I didn't start my business until I was probably 35. I should try and remember that, because I got out of Centerpoint in 2002, and I'm 60 now, so it's probably about 25 years. So I'm guessing I was 38 when I started my own business, and it takes a toll. It
does.
Really does.
I mean, I feel it.
And I was doing both at the same time for a while there, while I was working at Centerpoint and then just doing restaurant refrigeration as a business. And it was viable, but I had to, as they say, either get your business done or get off the pot, right? And I ended up getting off the pot and jumping in full force, but I also had to make sure that my family was provided for, not the basics at least, right? Like making sure we had food, we had our house to live on, right? And kids had clothes, and taking care of their health insurance, right? And I didn't have health insurance because back then, as a business owner, you don't, and I think even today, you don't have health insurance. I provide it right now for our team members.
Yes.
And, and my wife at that time was a stay-at-home mom because our kids were young, and I wouldn't trade that in for the world because they are great. They're part of that, was who they are. But now I have health insurance through my wife. So, but our company does provide it, just that
that's big.
We took I take the health insurance that my wife provides. So it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. We sacrifice a lot for our business, and it's not always about the money.
No.
It really is about what your passion is for, So if you could, we're going to go back to this picture with your mom, because it's such a beautiful picture.
Cool.
And it's 14 years ago. If you go back in time, because we all kind of go, if I would have known that a little sooner, what advice would you give the 17, 18-year-old Lee Ramsay, if you can go back in time right now and talk to him?
I would say get into asbestos and lead abatement.
Earlier?
Yeah, early, right now. Take advantage of it. Or go out and try to study, become an apprentice of some sort, because I didn't start the general construction or being in construction and anything until I was 25, and then I was working for someone for 5 years, always for someone else. So I have, of course, had my little gigs on the side, my companies, and then they, of course, grew as you start recruiting all the return customers and all that. But I would tell myself, really focus on the things that are important, and remember what I wanted when I was even younger, which was a family, very much so. Coming from that broken family type background, I really wanted kids. So for me, the company and everything and where it is, for me, it's the kids. The kids gave me that drive, that purpose. Because if I was still single, no kids, who knows where I would be? I don't know where I would be. So
Right.
It's definitely the kids. They add something. It's really hard to say that the focusing in and prioritizing someone else's life before yours, and it is the business, right? The business is always going to be a part and a fundamental foundation for your family and making sure that it's good. I really would just tell myself, remember what you want. You want that family, and in order to have a sustainable family, you should start a business. Because in my life, I was always half decent at speaking and being able to network with people. If I wouldn't have invested so much time in doing the things that I currently enjoy doing on the side, like playing video games and hitting the gym and trying to entertain this, that, and the third, I really would go back and tell myself that. But at the same time, I wouldn't change a thing, the negative or the positive, because that's what's in front of you today. If I were to go back and tell myself all that stuff, I could be a completely different man, and I'm happy with who I am right now in this very moment, and very hopeful for who I will become, hopefully tomorrow, or even just leaving this, that I'll just be happier and better off,
You're an awesome young man. I just know, like, your family is really important to you, like
Yes.
the kids, but even family, what you do for your brothers and
Yes.
stuff like that. And we didn't get into that too much, but
Yep.
I've heard a little bit of the story background, and you're a good man.
Thank
Need
you.
more people like you in this world. And,
Thank you.
one of the things that I love finishing out with a couple more questions is, what's your go-to strategy for turning a brief encounter into a lasting relationship? Because you are a true connector.
So this is my key, and I don't know if this will work for everybody, but I feel it could, if you implement it correctly. Give something personal to someone else. So if you're trying to create a connection, if you're giving something that you really, really like, or giving a compliment, a personal compliment. For me, I give up my stories, something personal that you typically would not share with somebody, because I want to be vulnerable. I want to give people that idea that I am a human, no different than them. I've been through things, and I've overcome some things. So I really try my best to give them a little bit of me. And I feel like it goes a long way. It hasn't failed me. No one's ever been like, oh, too much information. I don't like that. Nobody, even those analytical people, can connect when you're being very, very real and you're being sincere. That to me is what I would say is what's most important if you're trying to create that lasting impression right away, real quick. You don't need to say you have a beautiful house.
Right.
Everyone
Right.
says that. Oh, you have a nice car. Give them something personal.
It's got to be very genuine.
It's got to be genuine. Because if it's not, in the garbage.
Exactly. And talking about genuine, who is someone you'd love to hear on this podcast, and why?
So I don't even need to think twice about that. Like, truly, if I think about that, it's like, no, I know who it is. There's this great man. His name is Jim Peterson. He goes by James as well. He is the owner of Peace of Mind Home Inspections. I've liked this guy forever. He has very, very good energy. Me and him are very similar in a lot of aspects. He does do home inspections, and I've kind of tiptoed right into that with the asbestos and lead inspections. Being a general contractor, I do a lot of inspections. But Jim is a plethora of knowledge. he's not just a good man, a good father, and a good husband, right? Because for just what I've seen, but he is someone where if he were to be on the show, I think he could benefit a lot of people just by hearing what he has to say.
Yeah,
very much so.
Funny, I do know Jim Peterson. Jim,
you do?
And I
you
go
do?
back a long ways. I've known him from, I want to say 2012, 2013 from BNI. And
Wow.
I met him through business networking, and great guy. I also know a second Jimmy Peterson.
Okay.
Basketball player back in the 80s, played for St. Louis Park High School,
Okay.
turned pro, ran like a deer.
Wow.
My friend Ted Schmidt, his dad, August Schmidt, God rest his soul, coached him at St. Louis Park High School.
Wow.
Fantastic man. I think Jim is still doing basketball. I think he was actually helping coach the Lynx for a short time there, the Minnesota Lynx.
Really? Oh,
He's involved with the Minnesota Timberwolves broadcasting some of it.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Good
guy. Good guy. So, yeah, but that other Jimmy Peterson would be, I shouldn't call him Jimmy Peterson. I just think of that name, Jimmy. But yeah, Jim Peterson would be great to have on the show.
Yes.
Thank you for the shout out.
Of course.
And before we leave, I do have a little bit of, not a bucket of salt.
Oh.
But one of the things that we do on each show is we really appreciate you coming on the show. So a little thank you. It's nothing major, but you can put that to hold your stuff down.
I love it. Thank you.
And of course, you got to have a Twin City Heating and Air and podcast mug. And, I was thinking about like, what would be a great gift for you after our conversation. And I was like, you're into so many different things, and you got such a great young entrepreneurial mind. And, sometimes if I could have given myself a little like advice at that age, it was reading a little bit more, like reading more business books, reading more, getting that information. And then I thought of the perfect book for you, and this is called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And he's the guy that's part of the Keller Williams Realty. And he talks about like staying focused. Like sometimes we as entrepreneurs like go in so many directions. And we don't stay focused. And doing those one things that are right really helps us get to a certain spot. So hopefully you enjoy that book, and
I will.
And and keep prospering in your business and what other adventures you choose, kind of like where I'm at right now. My other adventure now, not that it's a money maker, but I'm enjoying doing these podcasts because I love telling the stories of young people, young business people, and their stories, right? Because we all have our own stories of how we got here. So that's the biggest reason why we do this.
Well, thank you for all these. I mean, truly, I appreciate this. I think I'm going to learn a lot about it, because for me, multiple businesses, my mind is scattered all over the place. I need to definitely take some time to focus more. That even comes from focusing on helping with my family more, or just the business. I'm excited to read this because I do a lot of work with people who work for Keller Williams.
Yeah.
So
we're all in that trade.
Really, yes.
Yeah. So, and then going back to your strategy for brief encounter and lasting relationships. See, I'm giving you a little bit of something that's
personal. I love it. Thank you. I love it.
Well, we really appreciate you being on the show, and I can't thank you enough, Lee, for coming on our show.
Of course.
If you want to learn more about Lee Ramsay, you can visit his personal page on Facebook, Lee Ramsay, spelled with an A, so it's Ramsay, or his business website at www.asbestos.services. Let me repeat that. It's www.asbestos.services. No .com at the end.
No .com. Mm-mm.
That's right. Or visit us on our Twin City Tales Facebook page, and we'll post the information on there. As we roll out of here, I want to thank you, Chris Hockey, for his song. Thanks for the use of his song, and with no pun intended. This podcast is powered by Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric. And remember, until the next show, when it comes to podcasts, you can't go wrong with Wyman Wong on Twin City Tales Podcast.
family, to all the ones who died before me. I'm sure the family life made you do things you never wanted to, so I wrote this song to say thank you for the breath that I just took, for the life my son